Hello, welcome to a beautiful sunny afternoon here in Seoul. We're sitting very comfortably, thank you, in the Olympic Park. 4 years ago, of course, this was the scene of the 1988 Summer Olympic Games. Hello, I'm Brian Langley, and I'm on hand to witness the Nike International Tennis Exhibition, and it features the two most charismatic players in the game today. John McEnroe, at 33 years of age, may never regain the #1 spot that he held for 4 years early on in the 1980s, but he is a player of true genius and has probably the best serve and volley game that tennis has ever seen. His opponent, André Agassi, finally made it through to the very top draw this year when he won his first Grand Slam event, and we're better to do it than at Wimbledon, and that was coming on the back of 3 successive failures. That was twice in the final of the French and once in the US, but he's finally made it through to the big time. Now, these two have recently played a similar exhibition. It was held at Los Angeles in the Forum at Inglewood in California. It was quite a game.
It's up, and Agassi is still alive. 6-5 McEnroe.
Can't say he didn't go for it. Went for it big time, that shot.
Well, will this be to Agassi's forehand or backhand? Crowd is really into it.
Well, John McEnroe took it with an ace, not a bad way to finish. After that, the two joined the Davis Cup team, were successful in their semi-final against Sweden, and now here they are in Seoul. I talked to them just before this tennis exhibition. You two have been seeing a lot of one another recently. You had the match up in LA, and then, of course, the Davis Cup. You're not giving away too many secrets, are you, John?
Well, I think I gave a lot away in the last couple of years, and as people saw at Wimbledon, Andre's a great learner, and now is an opportunity for me to show that I can still do it. And anytime I walk on the court with Andre, to me, it's a big match simply because I want to show him I can still play, and that I'm not an old man just trying to collect the last couple dollars before I throw in the towel.
Well, he beat you in Los Angeles, so you got something to fight for.
Yeah, I got. I'm gonna get even with him. We've had a lot of great matches across the world. Playing and really enjoying the competition of it. And believe it or not, as I'm sure you saw, on the TV in LA, every now and then it does go his way.
What are you going to do differently in this match that you didn't do in LA?
John served real well in LA. But coming here, there's a lot of factors involved that favor the youth. Long travel and and the different environment from the Davis Cup last week. So I'm hoping I can have the edge on him. But no, on the serious side, we go out there every time and we compete. And when you talk about this level of tennis, it's really just a flip of a coin as to sometimes who can get that luck that day and pull out the match.
Okay, gentlemen, may the best man win.
All right, that's
right.
Me, of course. Thanks.
Welcome back to the Olympic Park in Seoul, Korea, and both players loose as a goose. And André Agassi, one of the most instantly recognizable figures across the world, and the stats on the young man: 22 years of age, the fastest player ever to gross more than $1 million in prize money. 175, he's bulked up a little bit, 20 pounds he's put on over the last couple of years, and that's been a key part of his success. John McEnroe, the other end, same height as André Agassi, 10 pounds lighter, 33 years of age, born in Wiesbaden, West Germany, resides in California and in New York State. And here's a tale of the tennis tape. Agassi's probably got the best ground strokes in tennis today. John McEnroe used to have probably the best forehand and backhand. We're going to go with Agassi on that department. John McEnroe, certainly the best server in the early 80s, but Agassi really has put a lot of work on the serve and has increased the mileage on that and done very well. The return of serve, got to go with Agassi there. It was the return that won in Wimbledon. Net play, well, John McEnroe is the best serve and volleyer in tennis. Foot speed, well, a 22-year-old against a 33-year-old. Nothing wrong in losing out there. And intangibles, both players on a high, coming off a very successful Davis Cup run. And for those of you that saw the Barbara Streisand interview during the US Open, John McEnroe has the advantage in linear years, but Agassi is a Zen master of tennis, although we all know that John McEnroe is a true tennis genius. Well, John McEnroe won the toss and has elected to open serve. If any of you saw on Prime Sports the match-up between these two in California, John McEnroe opened with an ace. Just a reminder that his serve really has come on again over the last 12-18 months. The official from the Korean Tennis Association, I'm sure, will have no problems. And John McEnroe, well, I don't say he's a reformed character these days, but he's been very, very loose since he's been here in Korea. Well, he starts off with a service winner. And the Agassi return, just he was a little bit jammed up on that backhand. It caught him underneath. And this is the head-to-head, and John McEnroe is one ahead, but of course the big one was that semi-final in Wimbledon when André Agassi won that and went on the way through to win the final against Goran Ivanisevic. John McEnroe has won almost $12 million in prize money in his long and illustrious career. That's an indication of what we're going to see. André Agassi just trading ground strokes. John McEnroe staying back. Now, if John McEnroe is going to win this, I'm sure he's going to need to get to the net, use that serve and volley game, which is so good. The court surface is a bit like Supreme. It's a Japanese version of that, slightly slower. Same thing again, John McEnroe losing out on the exchange of ground strokes. These two flew in from the States yesterday afternoon, got off the plane, and John McEnroe was adamant that they went straight to the hotel, changed, and went out to the playing area here for about 45 minutes of a practice session. Just stretch the muscles and shake off the cobwebs of the long flight. And they've been out about an hour this afternoon before the start of this match. This gymnasium actually used as the main fencing venue during the Seoul Olympics. Holds about 6,000 spectators, and even though it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Korean time, most people you would expect to be at work, there's still 4,000 people or so in, and people are coming in all the while. Well, McEnroe coming out of a slump, finished last year ranked 28th on the ATP computer, but he's worked a lot on his fitness, works with an old college friend of his, Larry Stefanki. They do a lot of work on just general fitness. I suppose there's not much that Larry's going to teach John about his technique, but knows his game very well, just can remind him when he's getting out of a groove. Well, that called out, but that looked pretty well adjacent to the line. But anyway, it's a break right at the beginning of the first set for André Agassi. We'll be back. Go all the way to the #1 spot.
No, definitely. His personality is great for the game, and he brings a lot of people into the sport. And also, he's got a tremendous amount of talent. Obviously, that's the most important thing, to being the best and being able to cope with things under pressure, win some close matches. And I think that he's improved each year in that respect. And I think the next couple of years are going to be big years for him. He's got an opportunity to become the best player in the world, perhaps.
Well, that certainly was a compliment from the former best player in the world. John McEnroe was #1 for 4 years in the early 80s, and a lot of respect between these two young men. Another look at André's opening action as André loses the first point. John McEnroe lost his opening service game. Not quite loosened up. They had a little practice match about an hour before the start of this one, and John McEnroe won that, if that's anything to go by. And there it is, the serve and volley master. I suppose watching them practice is a bit like looking at the horses in the paddock before the start of the race. Gives you an idea, maybe, of just how they're hitting the ball. And there's an indication of how André Agassi is hitting the ball. That's something that he really did work on, and he was saying last year during the French Open, the extra work he's done in the gym to bulk up, giving him a lot more power on the overhead. He's always had that sort of power on the forehand. And John obviously thought that was he's not going to get too excited yet, but he felt that was long. So John's asking, please, next time it's out, I wouldn't mind a little call in my favour. And André was just expecting that to come over to his forehand side. John just went back behind him, and it wasn't really a completely wrong-footing shot, but it was enough to put André Agassi off balance, and that's what caused the error. Just wide. Well, the first couple of shots, John was giving André nothing, no angle, just chipping it down the middle, and then he himself went for the line, just pushed it wide. So here we are, deuce in the first set. André is leading 1 game to love. The depth of that backhand return from John McEnroe that forced the error there. And André not very pleased with himself. For 2 reasons. One, that he's just overhit that. John McEnroe is trying to orchestrate the applause. And you can see André just flails at that, knocks it wide. The second reason is, of course, that he's just given up the break of serve that he had. So we're now back 1 game apiece. Good serve. André jammed up, although he felt that it was long. And I think in the early stages of this match, the officials are going to have to get used to the extra speed on the players' shots. And that's his reaction. it was a long serve. We don't expect too many histrionics. These exhibitions can get competitive. Beautiful little drop volley from John. Still in the game, but what a great point early on in this first set. Well, it was a lovely volley initially from John. He came in and André just fired the ball at him. And the rally stayed on. John managed to get that back. That would probably have gone out, but André flicked it over back into court, straight at John, unfortunately. Oh, that was a terrific cross-court from André Agassi. So we've had a glimpse of what makes John such a great player, the volleys, and that's what André does so well, those real heavily hit ground strokes from either flank. And again, the good length on the shot from André Agassi just caught John McEnroe having to lift a little bit. Back to 30 all. Great serve.
13-7.
You saw again, and André was just shading over, expecting a ball down the middle. Great service return and a good volley from John. And how did he miss that? That's what he should have done. But it was such a blistering return of serve from André, and John McEnroe did ever so well to actually get the ball back across the net, and he was in a great position to finish the point off. Back to deuce. Well, he says André Agassi can't volley. He doesn't do it in the conventional way. He always tries to get something a little bit extra on the shot.
Advantage, Agassi.
See John there just going over to the backhand, and that cross-court hit with a lot of underspin. So it's another break point against John McEnroe. And a great service return, so we've had 3 breaks of serve in this opening set. We'll be back in a while. Welcome back to the Nike International Tennis Exhibition. John McEnroe in the first set. We've had 3 games and 3 breaks of serve. Agassi is leading 2-1. John McEnroe initially not capitalising on the very short second serve. He came in and tried to force, but didn't really have much pace on the forehand shot. But eventually won the points anyway on that shot of André's that clipped the tape. John just reminding us that he used to play soccer as a teenager. Well, the gap was there.
15-7.
André was coming in on a bit of a wing and a prayer there. that was a bit short, not the best of angles. That it drew the error from John McEnroe. In that time, a much better approach, perfect length. And André just increasing the velocity on those shots as he came back each time. The forehand, the Agassi forehand, hit with a lot of power. It looks as though André's en route to hold serve. An error on the ground, stroke from John McEnroe. André delayed that, waiting to make sure it landed in or out. Didn't get a call, so was able to continue with the rally. And that was long. So that should bring it back to deuce. Mentioned earlier that both players really enjoying life at the moment, coming off a very successful semi-final against Sweden in the Davis Cup. André played in the singles, had a very good win against the US Open champion Stefan Edberg. And John McEnroe, and a little bit of a surprising move, was brought in just to play doubles, and he paired up with Pete Sampras. Neither of them had played together as a pair, but as John showed when he teamed up with Michael Stich in the tournament before Wimbledon, which they lost in the final, and then with Michael Stich again actually won Wimbledon. He's still one of the best doubles players in the world, probably the best doubles player in the world. And that's gone. The screen from André Agassi didn't put him off. John McEnroe kept his concentration and eye on the ball. He really blasted at John there, straight at his body, and that lob just an easy setup for John McEnroe. John, you would normally have expected to have done a little bit better with the volley. Needed to find a sharper angle. See there it looked to be an open court. John and André Agassi didn't really have to stretch their legs to get to that. Agassi at the net. And just pressurizes John McEnroe into the error. So Agassi becomes the first player to hold serve. 3-1, first set. John McEnroe had has an incredible Davis Cup record. Just going back to that, the win against Sweden was his 58th victory in Davis Cup tennis. But André Agassi, since he came into the Davis Cup side in 1988, has been the United States' most consistent player. But is certainly generally recognized against the American professionals that John McEnroe is one of the greatest competitors in the game and a great motivator, and he's certainly a great boost for the side. So that's an extra bonus onto the fact that he's still probably the best doubles player in the world. André Agassi has played a couple of exhibitions in Seoul before. He is well known, and he's certainly a fan of the youngsters in the stadium. John McEnroe probably got his support from the expatriates in the crowd. Probably a little bit older and whose memories go back a little bit longer. John hasn't been to Seoul before. And they were actually quite pleased with themselves last night after they'd had their workout. Just after stepping off the plane, they decided to go out and they thought they'd go and have a pizza. And they went out by themselves, well, with a couple of their entourage, but they weren't hassled, not just allowed to get on with their business. And there weren't not many places left in the world where they can do that. Perfect position. The serve just pulled André out wide. He knew the return was going to come cross court and was in a great position to finish it off. Again. So John McEnroe holds serve, but he's trailing. It's 2-3 first set.
3-2.
John has is a serve and volley type play, which is still very effective today. I think if John played similar to how Connors does, he wouldn't be out here as a legitimate contender. You know, like Jimmy. You know, Jimmy goes to these tournaments, and great, he's 40 years old and he still plays well, but there's no threat to losing to him, or there's no threat for him to win the tournament. And that's because his style of play requires so much more work than a guy like John. So I think John has had a game that has really taken him through a lot of years, and it's a game that should demand full respect.
Well, that was André talking to us just before this match-up, and we'll be going back to the interview with both those players from time to time during the course of the next couple of hours. John not looking too happy with the quality of his ground strokes. He's getting caught out a little bit too often for his own liking. Just picking up on what André said, obviously with a serve and volley type of game, the rallies tend to be shorter. You're not grinding things out on the court. But you've got to be able to sprint and sprint and sprint. So as long as you can keep recovering, I suppose it's okay. John did have a lot of problems at one time with his back. Those seem to have been sorted out. Very conscious of looking after himself now, John, as he's, how can I put it politely, approaching the twilight of his career. It was interesting when they arrived in the hotel, John asked for extra fruit to be delivered to the room, and André wanted chocolates and candies. That was a bit of a weak backhand from John. So Agassi now consolidated that second break of serve of his in the third game. John McEnroe trailing now. And John, you just saw nodding, he was actually looking over towards Larry Stefanki, his coach, who's just level with the net, just about halfway up in amongst the spectators. The spectators in the arena are actually quite high up around this enormous bowl. It's a great place to hold the tennis. There's plenty of room. There's about 5,000 spectators in the stadium now. And André Agassi loves those sort of exchanges, you know, the power is just getting, he's increasing it with each shot, and as John gets it back, he just leans into a little bit more, takes it early, hits it on the rise. When he started playing with his father, when he was coaching him, when he was still 13 or 14, the key was just hit out at everything, keep hitting them, and eventually they'll start going in.
Love 30.
So everything seems to be going in at the moment, as Andre's love 30 ahead. An interesting point as well from the point of view of John McEnroe's reply to André coming in at the net. He didn't panic on the first shot. He didn't try to pass him immediately, just hit it, jammed him up at the net, and that set up an easier shot. The lob finished it off, and John McEnroe's brought it back to 30 all. And a good sprinkling of nationalities in the crowd here in Seoul. Fantastic return from André Agassi.
30-40.
Great angle cross court, and John just standing there watching it go by. He was in not a bad position, but he was passed with ease there. Great return. The first ace? Oh, was it? No, it was called long. It's good down the middle, but called long from the lines person, just right of camera. Just long. And again, André's just able to step wide of that and hit the big inside-out forehand. So, in a good position, André Agassi in this first set. Welcome back to the Olympic Park in Seoul. The Nike International Tennis Exhibition. André Agassi in a position now to serve out this first set. He leads 5-2. And a cheeky little forehand from André Agassi. John's return, but clipping the tape, and that really set things up for him. See John coming in, as he must do, to try and close down whatever angle will be open to André. And a deft little shot.
15.
Not very much deft about that. Back to 15 apiece. John just trying to hit the corners on those ground strokes. He had a good backhand down the line, plenty of pace on that, and then tried to repeat the process going across court. 30-15. André seems to not have his best rhythm on first serve. He's hitting his second serves with a lot of power.
40-15.
And 2 set points. Great lob. John McEnroe had a chance to weigh up the opportunities at his disposal. The ball dropped nice and short, and André had to go one way or the other. John McEnroe just held it back. He's got a second serve to go for here. Steps in behind it, makes sure he gets to the net. He's lobbed. Oh. Very quick hands from André Agassi to actually lay a racket on that ball that was hit on the overhead. So John McEnroe has saved 2 set points and brought it back to deuce. Really benefiting from that foray to the net. Just wide. Coming to John McEnroe's aid there. Thank you very much.
Advantage, McEnroe.
So a great chance for John to break back. He's trailing 2 games to 5. And André really getting some power into that serve that was just long. And a good return from John McEnroe after a second serve that was actually quite a good one. I mean, it was hit with a lot of spin and very deep, but John just stepped in. He guessed right, knew that it was going to, or guessed that it was going to his forehand.
Awesome.
Good serve, right on the service line. That just shot through, jammed André up. Second ace of the match for John McEnroe.
30 love.
Very distinctive service style. Little hard volley there. John McEnroe must get this. He's giving André a chance. Well, this is the sort of play that the crowds love in exhibition stuff. John actually gave André a chance to get that. Just trying to wear him down a little bit, perhaps. You see there, just toying with him there. After it he goes. The hallmark shot from André Agassi, and then another volley just put away, just agonizingly, tantalizingly out of reach. Another net cord comes back on the wrong side of the court for André Agassi, and John McEnroe holds serve and stays alive in this first set. Welcome back to the Nike International Tennis Challenge, and André trying to, for the second time, finish off this first set, leading 5-4. John's lob falling well short, and André had his chance to just pick one side or the other. And here it is, just an easy put away. This is second serve. 15 love. John McEnroe coming way in for that second serve as well. He's got the angle here. And a beautiful shot from John McEnroe. He had to curl it round, but he had to put it high enough so that it evaded the outstretched reach or outstretched racket of André Agassi. Beautiful shot. If that had come low over the net, there was a chance that André would have got that. John's quite happy with things.
30-15.
30-15.
30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-15. 30-
Plenty of pace on the serve there. It's a service motion without a lot of frills. John McEnroe in for the kill.
Sortier.
Mentioned earlier how much André had put into his work in the gymnasium, beefing up, put on 20 pounds or so over the last couple of years, and that certainly helped him through Wimbledon. But the US Open, where he had a very similar game to Jim Courier's in the semi-finals rather, he came unstuck. It was just a question of being out-hit. Beautiful little drop from John. He's going to follow it up. He's got the wide open space there. John McEnroe, I gave foot speed to André Agassi, but John McEnroe is still pretty lively around the court. But of course, one of the things that helps is if you anticipate well and you back up your shots and make the shot and do the right thing to prepare yourself for the next one, and that's what John McEnroe does so well. He's going to have trouble handling that. I wouldn't have fancied being in the John McEnroe shoes there.
Agassi.
André just winding up for that real fierce backhand. Well, to the crowd over on that side, it looked as though André had made a complete hash of it, but of course he knew that it was going to bounce wide.
Fourth set, Agassi.
So the first set goes to André Agassi, and it'll be a change of balls. John McEnroe starts set number 2 with new balls. And this is it. André knew that it was going wide. Down comes the ball, bounces about 1.5 foot, although he does go just to make sure that he did get a call.
Second set.
But he knew where that was going.
College. Ball school. 15 love.
Well, the initial call was that the ball was wide. The chair official, who's on that side, called the ball good. And now, of course, there's the reaction from André Agassi, who suggests that maybe if there was an error, he'll play 2. It looks as though he's going to accept. Oh, dear. Well, that was a typical John McEnroe serve, a beautiful left-hander swinging wide. Agassi way outside the tram lines. John McEnroe was there, but André somehow managed to conjure that back across the net. Ace number 3 for John McEnroe.
30-15.
Again set up by John's approach to the net, and finally the lob from André just nowhere near deep enough. He's just backtracking, keeping his eye on the ball, just shuffling the feet and in good position to put it away. Great volley. So a fairly comfortable opening game in the second set in this Nike International Challenge. it was before the Wimbledon tournament. I gather you were helping André with a bit of his grass game, and it was a bit ironic that you ended up playing one another in the semis.
Yeah, I think I helped him a little too much. So he's a great player, and he's also a great learner, and he hadn't played Wimbledon except for the previous year. He had lost it in the quarterfinals, but it had shown that he could play on it. But I don't think anyone expected him to go all the way and win, especially with this type of game that he's got. He stays back more, and I think it was great for men's tennis that he was able to accomplish what he did and show that it isn't all just serving at Wimbledon now. So it was a good boost for us.
Well, it's good to hear from John, and we'll be hearing from him again later, and also hearing from André Agassi. And of course, André's success was reminiscent, I suppose, in many ways of Bjorn Borg's great run of success. You wouldn't have said that Bjorn Borg was a serve and volleyer. He certainly wasn't. I suppose you could call him more of an aggressive baseliner. Nice little volley there from John McEnroe.
Love 15.
But after John McEnroe ended Bjorn Borg's reign, you look down the list of Wimbledon champions. Jimmy Connors in and out. Boris Becker won 3 times, of course. Big serve, good volley, good all-round game. And Stefan Edberg, very much a serve and volleyer. And the Agassi volley being tempted there, the through the leg shot. Not too bad.
Love 30.
And John spends a lot of time at the net. He knows what's difficult to return. And it gives you a pointer as to how you might want to play it yourself.
Love 40.
You see that John just kept the ball pinned under the racket arm of André Agassi. Just a little bit wild on the backhand. John McEnroe gets a break. And he's leading 2 games to love.
McEnroe leads 2-love.
His second set, having lost the first. So a chance for us to see one of the best service returns in the game once again. John McEnroe used to have one of the best serves in the game, but he admits himself now that as age has come on and as the real bigger players have come onto the scene, he's now gone down the ranks a little bit in terms of serving.
15.
Gave that a second look. Thought it had just gone wide.
13.
Ace number 4 for John McEnroe. Well, when these two met in California, I think John ended up serving 8 aces and André serving 7. Great service return. Absolutely perfect return. John McEnroe put all he had into that serve as well. André's hands are so quick. Well, I think you could say there that André gave that the charge. He was almost in full flight when he hit that. Really menacing prospect on the second serve. So John McEnroe holds. He's now got a comfortable lead in this second set, 3-love. Welcome back to the Olympic Park. and the gymnasium here in Seoul, where this Nike International Tennis Exhibition is continuing. And John McEnroe broke André Agassi's serve and now leads 4 games to love in the second set, having lost the first. And a perfect opening to this game for John McEnroe. A serve, a game that really goes wide. Normally it's the serve to the right-hander's backhand that causes the problems, but going wide on the forehand there, John's staying well wide to deliver the serve. And John McEnroe inviting André to chase after that, but I think he'd had enough. He just throws the racket after it. Well, here's André there. He realised that John McEnroe was just having a bit of a joke with him, I think, just lobbing it up. But it would have been a superb get. Of course, André had already been pulled over to the other side of the court. André Agassi waiting for the second serve, just takes a step in, and he's already a couple of paces inside the baseline. Well, if we manage to catch this, see, there's hardly any backlift on those. That's why he's able to hit those so quickly, so early on the rise. John should have that. Good point. A couple of good gets from André Agassi and good positional play from John McEnroe. This to take a 5-love lead in the second set. So John McEnroe holds serve and is well poised to even things up. In the second set he leads 5 games to love. After 3 Grand Slam finals, the inevitable question, André, you finally made it through to Wimbledon, but I don't think anyone expected you to actually do it on grass first.
Oh, you know, I didn't think I expected that. You know, you go to Wimbledon and you never think that you're going to be the one to win it until you get down to the last few matches, and then you kind of hope everything goes your way. And you know, there's a lot of luck that's needed, and there's a lot of luck that you can create just by working hard and being prepared. And I felt like I wanted it. I worked hard for it. It's been a few years that I've lost out on some opportunities, and it all came together at the right time.
There was a time that some commentators were saying André Agassi would never win a Grand Slam final. That was after 2 defeats in France. The first when he was the overwhelming favourite against Andrés Gomez, and then against his fellow Nick Bollettieri graduate, Jim Courier, when Jim Courier came through in 5 sets. And then, of course, he lost to Pete Sampras in the final of the US at Flushing Meadows. Well, we've skipped André Agassi holding serve to stay in the second set. John McEnroe now trying to close things out, leading 5 games to 1. And his first double fault. The last couple of games that John has served, he's actually looked as though he's found a very good rhythm, hitting the ball with a little bit more pace. And that sort of thing. That's what I was talking about.
So an ace to go with the double fault.
Serve and volley to perfection. And that was not an easy volley, hitting up high above the shoulder, and John McEnroe just looks as though it's quite a simple affair. Well, it is for him. And a real powerhouse reply from André Agassi. There it is, and it's the power that the two-fisted backhander enjoys. Not such a big backswing. And that's two double faults. John's actually, we're talking about double-fisted. We're talking to John earlier about his two sons and whether they're going to play tennis, and they are playing at the moment. 6 and 5 years old, but the one thing that he remarked on the fact that they are both right-handed. But they may be able to adopt the two-fisted approach. Well, that's three double faults in this game, and he's trying to close out this second set here. Advantage to Agassi again. Well, I think half the problem was that he'd found that good rhythm on the serve, and then just started to try and press it a little bit too hard. Now he's out of it again. And the first flash of the John McEnroe temper. Dispirited, throws his racket away, but he's still leading 5-2 in this second set. Welcome back to the Nike International Tennis Exhibition. John McEnroe with 4 double faults made a bit of a hash of trying to serve out the second set. He still leads 2-5, but André here serving to stay in. Well, we mentioned John's two sons talking about their propensity for playing right-handed or double-fisted. This is what John had to say.
Yeah, well, that's certainly in the days, nowadays, it appears that most players, when they're coming up, they start at such an early age, they're really too weak to hit a one-handed backhand. So you almost have to change at a certain point from a two-handed to a one-hander. And I've seen a lot of players that have had a lot of success over the last 10 years with two-handers. So it's not something you just automatically discourage anymore.
So there's one of the best double-fisted backhanders, serving well as well now. And Andre's got the bit between his teeth. 5 love down, and he's pulled 2 games back. Another good serve. It's all just looking a little bit more smooth and relaxed now, the André Agassi serve. Well, you can't get much smoother than that. An ace. Second ace of the match for André Agassi, and he's bouncing around a little bit, looking over to the bench, the side, and looking as though he might fancy his chances making a comeback here and taking it in straight games, straight sets. So can John McEnroe find the rhythm that he had earlier on in this set? 4 double faults in the previous game. The crowd thought that was a clean ace. It was just wide. And you could just see from the little hitch that John McEnroe made when he got to the net, he was really keen. He was making sure that he was crowding that reply down. Just watch it here. Over on the angle. Well placed. And once you get into that position, if you're John McEnroe, the final kill's fairly easy. André trying to step round and take that on the forehand. John has the ability to slice those balls so they do swing away after they bounce. John McEnroe certainly seems to be enjoying his tennis these days. He's done much better this year than I'm sure he anticipated at the start of the year, getting to the semi-finals at Wimbledon. Winning the doubles, of course, there, getting to the finals of the doubles at the US Open, and enjoying a great run in the Davis Cup. A little bit slipshod from André Agassi. Hit that one much flatter. See, there wasn't the movement from bottom to top, which would have taken it over the net. So 3 set points. That's one of them saved.
40-15.
Just wide. So John McEnroe holds after a bit of a struggle, and we're into a third and deciding set.
Well, I think Far East is an example of where there's explosions have taken place in a lot of different things, and especially in Korea and Japan and Taiwan, you see a great explosion in the amount of the products that are coming out of the country and the high quality products they have, and now all of a sudden you saw a Korean gentleman win the marathon and a Japanese man was second. So this is a situation where I think there's a great opportunity for this area to really to use that as a base to really try to get tennis. I think tennis they'd be great ambassadors for their countries. A guy like Matsuoka, who's the highest ranking Japanese, he's the first real Japanese player that's really shown that he is a legitimate top, very good player on the circuit, and it would be good for the sport.
So we're expecting a lot of things in this part of the world from tennis over the next few years, and there's an interesting sideline. There are 2 young players, Chani Jung, the Asian Games champion, and Shin Han Chul are standing by, and they'll be taking on these 2 in a doubles match immediately following. Just wide. Because the key for young players in the region is to get international experience. It's no good just playing your own national championships. You've got to get out. Certainly the reason for the success of the Swedes, from Bjorn Borg right through Mats Wilander, Stefan Edberg. They were on the road by the time they were about 14, driving around in a van in Europe, competing in junior satellite tournaments. Stefan Edberg is only 24. He seems like he's been in the game for as long as anyone can remember. And this man can also say that he's been in the game as long as most people can remember. 4 times a world's #1 player. First time in 1981 when he took over the mantle from Bjorn Borg. Good exchange of ground strokes at the beginning and then some sharp little angles.
14.
So John McEnroe has a second serve to go at. There you saw John didn't react after he hit the ball. He knew that it was had gone long. It's a difficult shot when you're being forced to run wide and you try and hit it down the line. It's very easy to hit it wide. You almost got to hit the ball back behind you. Well, McEnroe sort of half thought about closing in on that approach. He took one half step forward and sort of hesitated, and André, again, you know, it's the advantage that the two-fisted backhand gives you. You can actually pull it round for those seemingly impossible angles. How about that for an angle? Unbelievable shot from André Agassi. You're tempted to say that that's the sort of shot you'd go for in an exhibition, but André's the sort of player, he'll go for it regardless. Well, that ball seemed to skid off the paint at the end of the service line, but André was still very disappointed that he didn't do better with the shot. Back to deuce. And there's a leaf out of John McEnroe's book. Serve and volley. First time for a long while that André really has come in and threatened the return of serve. André's first double fault. It's interesting, isn't it? The angle was fairly predictable, but the height on the ball and the exaggerated spin, change of pace, and that's what caused the error from John McEnroe. That little chip on the backhand. And André takes the opening game in this deciding set. Welcome back to the gymnasium in the Olympic Park. André Agassi will have a chance to test his return of serve against John McEnroe, but André's return really has improved beyond all recognition.
Well, I've always had my return has always been the strength of my game, or at least a big part to it. And I felt like, the fact that I was winning at Wimbledon and beating a lot of big servers, then the return got the respect. It seems like Wimbledon is where you prove yourself in this game, and it was really exciting to be known as the best returner. I feel it's a great compliment for me, and something that I feel great about it. But the return has always been a big part of my game, and when you put so much emphasis on something and then people look at it and respect it, it's a great feeling.
So that was André talking to us about the return of serve, and it's the return of serve he plays. It's a similar shot to his ground strokes. He likes to hit the ball early and has got very quick hands, can hit it from both sides, and that really is what gives him the edge. John McEnroe has the edge, though, a good volley to take the opening points in this game. Real slashing backhand from André. André really hitting out on those shots. Current ranking, André Agassi is 6 in the world. He's probably playing better than he has done he's probably better than he has ever. But back in 1988, he had a meteoric rise up to 3rd position in the rankings. 25 the year before, shot up to 3, won 6 tournaments that year. And he's been 7th, 4th, 10th in the last few years. And how about that for an angle? John McEnroe. Well, John McEnroe holding serve very comfortably in this second game. Well, that was the return. And he's not phased at all by any high kicking ball. I mean, those balls up around the shoulder, André Agassi takes as an opportunity to get a better angle when he hits the ball. You see, he's hitting it for about shoulder height. Well, André was going for the big one again. It was just long, but John McEnroe holds one game apiece. And it is in this 3rd and deciding set. This Nike International Tennis Exhibition will be going on to Melbourne after this. And that's the big inside-out forehand. So André has given us a demonstration of power off both wings in the last minute or so. And it looks as though André is just trying to up the tempo a little bit. Now we're into the decider. And John had just taken a half a step to his left as Agassi swung the ball round across court. Great wrong footing drive. Oh, great play from André Agassi. Well, John McEnroe thought that he got the angle on that. But André very, very quick over to his backhand side and in a position to kill. How about that? Great power from André Agassi, and he's very happy with the way things are going in this 3rd and deciding set. Davis Cup. I mean, we had shots in the papers of you guys coming through against Sweden. It seemed a very happy team, and I mean, obviously, it seems a nice little quartet you've got there.
Yeah, we got a great chemistry between all of us. We're all respected as the best players in the world, and it's a great team. When you get the best together, you feel so alive, and you just want to go out there and do your part. And we're out there for a while, and it's going to take a lot to beat us.
Well, they will be in the Davis Cup final, playing Marc Rosset and Jakob Plazek from Switzerland. Seems unfair, doesn't it? I think it's going to be 4 against 2, because the Swiss will be using the 2 players for the singles, and then they team up, play doubles, whereas the Americans have got John McEnroe in with Pete Sampras in the doubles. And Jim Courier will be playing singles.
15.
Well, André enjoyed a little bit of success in the previous game when he ripped a succession of backhands and forehands. They all went in. So he obviously feels that while he's on that sort of a vein of form, he should tap it, keep it going. But John McEnroe's going to stay in there. John trying to find a service rhythm he enjoyed in the second set. Well, André's foot speed had got him into position. He'd guessed the angle of John McEnroe's volley, and there was the gap there. Well, I think probably the less said about that shot, the better for André Agassi. Everybody expected him to either just drop it down McEnroe's forehand side or push it down that line. He tries a very exaggerated whip cross court. After a couple of heavy looping topspin shots, he just tries to go a little bit flatter for the kill. So John McEnroe holds. 2 games all in the deciding set. André Agassi. You'll hear the chair umpire saying his name something like Agassi. The normal way that Agassi is pronounced in Korean, to a foreign ear anyway, is exactly the same word as woman.
15.
Agassi wins that. The 2 players came out of the airport yesterday, and there was a teenager in the crowd said to her mother in Korean, "Oh look, there's John McEnroe and Agassi," and the mother turned around and said, "Well, I can see John McEnroe, but where's the woman?" And that's a true story. I just made that up. Agassi's ground strokes really have come on now in this 3rd set. And John McEnroe is finding himself stranded. Second serve. You saw McEnroe walk right into that. He was on the move even before the serve was struck. And that set up the volley, back to 30 all. McEnroe's down and out. André's absolutely delighted with things. And poor old McEnroe's feeling a bit shell-shocked. Agassi really has found his range with those ground strokes now. Incredible pace.
Agassi.
Agassi pulled out a little lead here, 3 games to 2, but we're on serve.
John, I suppose this has been a good year for you. You got semi-finals at Wimbledon, and everyone was delighted to see you do so well in the doubles, and then not a bad run in the US. So things been pretty good so far.
I gave it my best shot, and I feel like I played well in the big tournaments, and now we're in the finals of Davis Cup, and I've got that to look forward to, and the Grand Slam Cup at the end of the year. So I'm proud of what I accomplished this year. I would have liked to eked out a couple of those matches and gone a little bit farther, but the guys I played those days, Curry and Agassi, they played too well for me.
Yes, it was André Agassi that defeated John at Wimbledon, and Jim Courier really on song at the US. Jim Courier also beat André Agassi, and then had that very strange match-up against Pete Sampras. And Sampras, even though he was suffering from stomach cramps, possible beginnings of dehydration, and he still managed to go on and take the match. But then, of course, lost to Stephanie. Let's concentrate on John McEnroe and André Agassi. No breaks of serve in this third set. 2-3, John McEnroe trails. Great pickup on the half volley. Superb shot. Really the deftest of touches from John McEnroe. That was really driven hard at him. It was a very good return. André obviously felt that was a wide serve, and there's a little wry smile I think I saw from John McEnroe there. After a couple of net chords, they're on the first. Agassi comes in again and overhits it, and John McEnroe holds. 3 games apiece, third set. But just look, you can see André walking in there on the second serve, and John McEnroe knew exactly where that was going, on its way out. One of the qualities that has made John McEnroe such a great doubles player. He can judge those balls very quickly, and as the net player in doubles, you get a lot fired at you, more so than in singles. John has won 8 Grand Slam doubles titles. Certainly in the early 80s, the best, when if you were in a discussion about which is the best doubles pair around, you'd always say John McEnroe plus one other. And the one other in the early 80s was Peter Fleming. And look where John McEnroe was when he hit that return. He looked back down at the service line. I think he was saying, what am I doing here? One step behind the service line. I think it's just little lapse of concentration, and that's what John's trying to get himself sorted out on. And for points. The McEnroe ground strokes running his opponent around. John enjoyed that. A couple of real power drives on the backhand. So 2 double faults in this third set, and a chance for John McEnroe to get the first break. It looked as though the net cord was going to go in Agassi's favour. Yes! John goes over to the mic. Unfortunately, the announcer's mic is switched off. Oh, he has another go. Great cross cord, and he's jammed up, and he gets the break.
Seem like it has anything to do with tennis anymore. It seems like it's all mental and you know how you can stay focused and you know keep that level of intensity, because it's really draining. I mean, you play 3 out of 5 set matches for 2 weeks straight, and by the time you get to the end of it, you're just going on fumes. It feels.
He's won 7 Grand Slams and 77 career singles titles. Incredible. In fact, just looking back at the stats, in 1984 he went 82 wins, 3 losses, and that's the best record that there has been on the professional tour, and I doubt whether anyone's going to equal that in the near future. Really dominated tennis in that year. Well, a couple of questionable calls there, certainly calls that John McEnroe would question. One of them was long down his end. He's looking over to the chair umpire, asking if there's any chance of an overall, perhaps. Says, watch it. And then this one. Didn't look so far out, did it? Oh, good job, John McEnroe walked away. André would have hit him. Well, André was trying to draw the double guess, trying to second guess him. Went straight at John McEnroe each time, and John McEnroe was there waiting. Nice little exchange. Real aggressive stuff.
40-15.
Oh, he'd have loved an ace there, wouldn't he, to finish that off? John thought that was on the line. And that cry of break was from André the other end. And he finishes it off with an ace. So John McEnroe feeling pretty good, feeling pretty strong. Power stuff.
McEnroe leads.
He's leading 5 games to 3. André, the other end, is showing a little bit more of a bicep. Just finishing off there. Well, it looks as though André spent a little bit more time in the gym than John. And not guessing the angle on that half volley at all. John McEnroe has continued his run out over the signboards and out through the side door. And here's André trying to hold serve. It's much easier when there's no one at the other end returning. John McEnroe just coming back. He's just gone out into the area through the Olympic parks out there. Pleasant evening. And André double faults when there's no one the other side pressing. And John McEnroe is already over. You can see just at the top of the screen, pushing up the number 6. It's 3-5 at the moment. Well, André's got such an incredible eye and such great hands. He doesn't normally hit a simple volley. He tries to do something with it and pay the penalty on that occasion. Love 30. And another ineffectual volley, and John McEnroe's enjoying things, and he's got match point. Well, John won in California, and I think he reckons he's got it here in the Olympic Park in Seoul, and he has. John McEnroe wins this Nike Tennis International Exhibition in 3 games. Some great tennis played by these two, and John McEnroe, the old man, 33 years old, beats the 22-year-old. Final score 4-6, 6-3, 6-3. So we hope you've enjoyed this Nike Challenge. Great chance to see these two players enjoy themselves. The crowd enjoyed them, and it's a great way for the word of tennis to be spread throughout Southeast Asia.